The 18th century England, the rise of bourgeois. After the restoration of the kingdom in 1660, British society was under the firm authority of the monarchy and aristocracy. People had experienced the Commonwealth duration that impacted a kind of transformation in their approach towards different domains of their life, either mentally or practically. They were in a perplexed and complex situation. Contradictory political condition resulted in the form of social hierarchy and an aggression for status quo. However, Britain was also being transformed by the Industrial Revolution after 1688. There was a pursuit of luxury and materialistic well-being in the society. Capitalism drastically changed the face of society, and this transformation diverted the business and pastimes of the populace. In response to this paradoxical situation, a nation ruled by the old elite but dominated by business and trade, authors experimented socially mixed combinations of tragedy, comedy, the epic, pastoral, and satire. These classical genres generally failed to resolve the contradictions of the social hierarchy. Moreover, these genres couldn't reflect the emerging realities of that versatile commercial society and a broader, more socially mixed audience. That dissatisfaction emerged and polished a new genre, fiction with purely English source. As W. Long says, that we have a certain pride in regarding it as England's original contribution to the world of letters. The rise of bourgeois. The political disturbance between 1642 and 1660 had a profound and lasting impact on how writers and readers perceived the nation's social hierarchy. The creation of a republic in 1649 not only eliminated the king but also temporarily raised the level of the middling source, including minor domestic traders, shopkeepers, and common army officers. It emerged positions of unique power and influence. This system eliminated the House of Lords and subjected the royals, nobility, and gentry to abstraction, severe fines, and the erroneous exploitation of their land. Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution can be said paved the path to the rise of the middle class, or the bourgeois. It also created a demand for people's desire for reading subjects related to their everyday experiences. It caused a drastic change in the social setup and mindset of the society, bringing in a bulk of wealth, luxuries, and materialistic supplements. Thus, that mindset demanded focus as well as importance that gave rise to another class in the society named bourgeois. Belief in social hierarchy. Writers and readers of the 18th century were shaped by their daily experience of culture dominated by an almost unquestioned belief in social hierarchy. Our understanding of this hierarchy and its literary impact has, however, been hindered by theoretical obstacles and historical simplification. Power in the hands of commercial ranks. Especially following the Glorious Revolution in 1688, writers often subjected the traditional elite to scathing satire, contrasting the decadence and greed of the present aristocracy with traditional ideals of genteel honor and virtue. Nevertheless, writers equally denigrated the avarice and the vulgarity of rising financial elite and seldom suggested that the commercial ranks should take power. Literary representations of the old and new elite inherited and newly made wealth are generally characterized by a controlled tension rather than confrontation, generating a series of higher values of morality and national interest while implicitly underwriting the legitimacy of the traditional social hierarchy. The rise of English novel. The literature of 17th century flourished under the patronage of the upper class. The 18th century in England's social history is characterized by the rise of the middle class. Because of tremendous growth in trade and commerce, the England merchant class was becoming wealthy and wanted to get focus. This newly rich class wanted to excel in the field of literature also. This class was neglected by the high-born writers, and their tastes and aspirations were expressed by the novelists of the time. The novel was, in fact, the product of the middle class. Yes, with the rise of middle class, hence the rise of the novel was quite natural. Rise of the middle class. The England's merchant class was becoming wealthy, and this newly rich class wanted to capture attention by others. Okay? This class was neglected by the high-born writers, and their tastes and aspirations were expressed by the novelists of the time. The novel was, in fact, the product of the middle class, for middle class as expressed by Thoreau, the English novel as an instrument portraying a middle-class society. With the rise of the middle class, the rise of the novel was quite natural. The novel therefore developed as a piece of prose fiction that presented characters in real-life events and situations. Daniel Defoe, Robinson Crusoe, and Henry Fielding's Tom Jones are some of early English novels. The novel is realistic prose fiction in such a way that it can demonstrate its relation to real life. Invention of printing press. Printing was another crucial factor that contributed to the rise of the English novel. The modern novel was the child of the printing press, which alone can produce the vast numbers of copies needed to satisfy literary publications a price that they can afford. Growth of newspapers and magazines. In the 18th century, the appearance of newspapers and magazines attracted a large number of readers from the middle class itself. These new readers had little interest in the romances and the tragedies which had interested the upper class. Thus, need for new type of literature rose that would express the new ideas of the 18th century, and this new type of literature was none but novel. So came the rise of realism. The 17th century literature was criticized by the spirit of realism and romantic features like enthusiasm, passion, imagination. All these characters declined in the 18th century. Okay? The spirits of reason, intellect, correctness, satirizing were the main characteristics of this period. Which period? The 18th century. So were the main aspects of English novel of the age. This force of intellect, reasoning, and satirizing provided readers with a perfect piece of entertainment, along with touching the feelings of readers deeply, as poet declares a novel as a perfect freedom from every degree of immoral tendency, together with the power of deeply interesting the feeling of the reader. And hence comes the role of individualism. The social and intellectual currents were linked for creating something new and different. Those who carried out the action became individualized. They were interpreted in, and all their complexity and the social pressure on them were minutely detailed. When people wanted to hear stories of those who are not too different from themselves in a community, recognizably akin to their own, then the novel was born. The rise of individualism was also very significant in the emergence of the English novel. 6. Educated women. In the 18th century, women of upper classes and the middle classes could partake in a few activities of men. Although they couldn't engage themselves in administration, politics, hunting, drinking, hence in their leisure time they used to read novels. The 18th century great novels are semi-anti-romance, or it was the first time that the novel emerged and distributed widely and largely among its reading public. Moreover, with the increase of the literacy, the demand on the reading material increased rapidly among well-to-do women who were novel readers of the time. The theater was not such feasible form of entertainment, but novel was due to its large audience and it spread all over the hand in country houses. In other words, middle was such an important factor behind the growth of the novel as a new form of art. Which middle? Middle class or the bourgeois. Women readers were considered as crucial factors in providing readership. A better education for women was coincident with a period of a greater leisure for women in middle and upper ranks. The greater leisure for women left a time space which needed to be filled in. Men were also educated and had intention to see beyond the narrow local interests and profession to an inspired motivation. Both men and women were receptive to literary forms which would open up to them recent and real worlds outside their own world. Availability of writers. Understanding the role of the literary artist in this complex and changing situation would raise even more formidable problems. As noted by Raymond Williams, the period after 1680 showed a marked change in the social origins of authors, with more deriving from the middle ranks and fewer from the aristocracy and upper gentry. Swift, Gay, Heywood, Richardson, Johnson, and Goldsmith came from very modest backgrounds, while other writers such as Pope, Fielding, and Burney claimed roughly genteel status without great wealth or an automatic claim to recognition. Market opportunities. A market opportunity or a market economy was the third factor. The sociology of the novel is based very much upon the market relationship between author and readers, mediated through publications. In contrast to earlier methods of financing publication or supporting authors such as patronage or subscription, a market economy increases the relative freedom and isolation of the writer and decreases his immediate dependence upon particular individuals, groups, or interests. The last point we have to discuss in this video is prohibition on theater. The decline of drama also contributed to the rise of the novel in the 18th century. In the 18th century, drama lost its fame that it had in the Elizabethan age. It didn't remain an influential literary form. Hence, some other had to take its place, and its place was filled by the English novel after 1740 AD. Thus, the decline of drama led to the rise of the English novel. The Licensing Act of 1737 imposed a stifling political censorship on the English theatre. It was a great age of prose. Good luck.